understood, the origins of creation. And when Eden rolled around, the creator God, the lower creator God, the demiurge type God, was sort of in the driver's seat and completely turned everything around and made the woman lesser than. And so this whole scenario since then has been taking place. The goddess energy has had to go through these cycles, going into the underworld, all the myths, Persephone, Ariadne, all of them, really working to, rise and create that global alchemy and reclaim the mother womb that patriarchy has really taken over. And Eden is the best example of how that story has played out in myth, and the whole, choice, the tree of good and evil and the tree of life. It was basically duality, and, the goddess energy stepped in and has given us a chance to return to our roots and really discover, our divine feminine energy and how powerful that is. And, that sacred union and the union of, Christ, Sophia, Shakti, Shiva, whatever you want to call it, is really where it's at. And this division has been profoundly disturbing, and religion has completely bought into it. And, Magdalene has suffered a lot, and I feel a profound connection to that story, and definitely universal, and, it's within all of us. It's archetypes. There are many, and, we feel, when we really connect with them, we feel the emotions and the whole, like we experienced it right along with her. So it's very profoundly sad, and most of my life has really been in recovery of that, just really tuning into it big time, from the depths of being. So.
Yeah, it's kind of profound. I had a friend of mine from another faith, you might say, and I won't mention which one, but he said, don't you think it's odd that a God would condemn a man to eternal sin for taking a bite of an apple? And then a whole civilization bases their faith on that. And, he had a good question. I just said, I go, I never really thought about it that way, but, yeah, it does sound pretty ridiculous. And there are people that still believe that, and they believe the earth is flat and it's only 6,000 years old, and they're still running that program. But, it's time to drop that program and bring a little balance and a little common sense back to things.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's the archons, and they really do not want nature to be the force that guides. They're in competition with it. They want the ultimate power, and so the best way is to suppress the goddess, suppress the feminine, and that's why they have all these negative technologies and HARP and mind control, because the Illuminati, way back when, used to be I guess you could say, in a high awareness of themselves as very creative, godlike beings, but the Gnostics and the Illuminati sort of split, and one took the path of behavior modification and control to deal with the human race, and the Gnostics really wanted enlightenment to help everything fall into place. And there's, a lot of Gnostic texts have been rewritten in a patriarchal way, as most things have. But, unfortunately, the control of nature, the control of women, and men, of course, have the feminine energy as well. This is not about gender to me. Has put us in a place where the thought of surrender to nature is very foreign to many, and really divine will and the forces of nature are what are bringing us into this incredible shift, because Gaia, as a physical planet, is a multidimensional being with consciousness, and they don't want people to awaken to that. We'll have our healing powers back. The pharmaceutical companies will fall apart. How are they going to make money if we're all empowered? And they're freaking out, of course. And I know you know this. It's just unbelievable how much our culture buys into it. And yes, everybody's waking up, and it's beautiful. A lot of people.
It's pretty obvious to me. I mean, I don't see how you can miss it anymore. But you look at aspartame, and Rumsfeld, the war industry boy, gets a patent for all this stuff, and he's pushing it like crazy. It's been banned in other countries, and it creates, severe brain disorders, all kinds of problems. You've got the MSG, you've got all these things. Now you've got Monsanto putting out these frankenfoods and killer crops and things like that. It goes on, and you look at what's going on, and they're on every level, and then you add the chemtrails into that, and that is just beyond insanity. Anybody that would spray that much aluminum, barium, and strontium, on nature or on a planet has got to just be, Fruit Loops. I mean, they are out of their gourd. along with the biologicals, and then you've got all these H1N things and everything else that are coming out of laboratories and being spread, so they can make billions off the flu shots. I mean, it goes on and on. You look into this and you go, this is total insanity. This is wholesale war on the American people, and now we've got the TSA thing going on and all these other things, and I always tell people, if you really want to get to the heart of things, go back in time and listen to Kennedy's speech and then listen to Eisenhower's speech and put the two together, and you can see exactly what is going down on this planet, and they warned us about it.
Yep, and then the media feeds into it by lowering our vibration, so we're functioning at a lower level, and it keeps our consciousness low, and then then people are eating this food, their DNA is getting damaged, and then, these leaders who are creating these false flags and feeding the war economy, have this whole hero mentality, like they're there to save the day, and all these silly medicines that come out with side effects that are far worse than the original condition. And you really have got to be losing it if one doesn't wake up at this point. It's so obvious at this point, and it's unbelievable. It's beyond criminal. And the great thing is, if we, it's just about eating good food and just, detoxing. But the problem is they're starting to create laws that make it hard to even grow organic food. And yeah, this is a huge war, between spirit consciousness and technology and mind control and poison. And but we're going to be fine, because the thing is, when consciousness raises enough, the frequencies alone are so much higher than all of this stuff that it's able to really, keep one healthy. And consciousness has a lot more power than people can imagine. Just simply being aware guides our choices, helps us break, the addictive patterns, because a lot of these things, do have that effect. And the poisons, unfortunately, can create Morgellons disease. And some of the chips that are in people, create this illness where fibers come out of the body. And, that's going to linger for a while, but it's very intense. And, a lot of people want to be idealistic and positive and love will heal and this and that, and it will, but we really need to face these injustices. And this is what I'm prepared to do in the next 2 years. I'm really going to make a huge fuss and use some of the DC connections I have to really do what I need to do regardless of the consequences. Because, our light is strong enough to just completely do this work. And in our unified awareness, we're going to take it on. Justice has to happen. And, what's that?
Oh, I said there's a wonderful saying, one on the side of God is the majority.
You're right.
And all it takes one awakened being, to just really be plugged in and speak from the heart and let that energy flow through you can affect millions.
Oh, definitely. And when we think about how many of us are doing this, I can just feel the effects already. I've never felt, you can kind of use yourself as a barometer at times, how much anxiety or pain one feels, and it's like, this is the first year that I felt, a lot better than I ever have before, and I just take that as a really good omen, because I really have been so sensitive since I was a kid to all of this, to the point of, not being able to function, just completely drowning in it and overwhelmed, and just, seeing the dilemmas that lay ahead, and I really feel like we've come far, and yes, there's so many incredibly awful things that are a reality out there, but we hold the ultimate power. I mean, having inferior beings trying to run the superior aspect of who we truly are doesn't really work. And consciousness itself is the antidote to poison. Just awareness and spirit, and just letting those higher frequencies into the body and not buying into these lower frequencies that we see in the media and in all these fear tactics. Can undo a lot of the damage in our DNA, and if we simply just do not buy the food that's poisoned, we'll be okay. And as far as the chemtrail goes, I mean, that's really disturbing, because that's just in the air. But there are ways to protect ourselves. We just really have to, put that force field of protection on and put a stop. I mean, I know a lot of the core groups that are behind this, and as soon as I have enough strength and enough people that are in on it with me, I really do want to storm the gates and put a stop to this. So,
the people that are behind
luck, I don't know. I mean, I know we're all doing our part I'm torn between how much do I really want to get in. It's like it's so much to fight it, and it might be more draining than just creating a whole new thing and watching it crumble like nature will inevitably cause it to. Just like the human body, we have to see the earth as just like our human body. When we raise the consciousness and awareness and our immune system increases, it naturally ejects the germs, the parasites, the afflictions. And so I just think the focus should be on raising consciousness. But I can't help. I don't know if it's in my blood because of just and growing up in D.C. But part of me is just really ready to go in there and do something profound. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm all for you. But it's gone beyond insanity what these guys are up to, and I'm just seeing this draconian agenda being played out right now. But I also see the big picture, and I know what's coming in, and that their time is very short here. And so I think I asked. It's really interesting. I asked about the couple of things, about the TSA and the other stuff, and even the food bill they just passed, where it's actually illegal to even have your own garden, and or sell organic foods and things. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe they passed that, and it went through with flying colors, so we know who's pretty much bought and sold, those houses, but the Monsanto boys, But basically, I was asked, I asked about that, the higher beings. I said, well, what is, I go, how did this even get passed? And they said it had to. And I said, why? And they said, something good is going to come out of it. So I what I'm getting is that this, between the food bill, the TSA, and a few other things that are all hitting the surface right now, these are the tipping points, the tipping stones. And they had to come up and go in that direction so people could just see how perverse and how uncaring and unthinking the powers that be are that we've put into office.
Right. And it reminds me of, some of the people in my life, and I'm sure people can relate, when somebody angers you or is so wrong or so just out of line, and you might have a sweet disposition and just, feel very just calm and at peace, and, somebody really rattles you to the core. They don't realize, and I've said that to people, you have no idea, you just created a monster. And the rage and the fire and just like that passion to just like put a stop to it, all of a sudden it's just like they are part of creating their backlash, because they're going to create a collective rage that is so powerful and is filled with the power of truth and justice, and that's really, they're creating their own downfall, because they're not being subtle about it, because they realize, we have a lot to fall back on. We are self-sufficient. We know how to take care of ourselves. The earth provides. And community, is beyond any kind of thing that government has ever even come close to representing. And, yeah, they're extremely intimidated by it. But what they're getting in the way of is what's creating the backlash, because, that collective rage is going to create this shift, and I totally agree that
it's kind of like they're saying, basically, we're going to poison you, we're going to poison your food, we're going to modify it, we're going to grope you, we're going to expose you to radiation, we're going to radiate your food, and guess what? You're all going to pay for it, and then we're going to create a couple wars, and then we're going to blow a giant hole in Mother Earth and destroy an ocean, and you're all going to stand by and eat the shrimp afterwards because your president went swimming, and said everything's okay. And, it's just so frickin' ridiculous now that I'm just wondering how brain dead is America, how I think the youth are the only hope, because a lot of them are starting to see through this, and that's probably where you can actually play an incredible part in this, and by bringing this all together.
Yeah, Facebook is such a miracle, and just to connect with folks and be able to talk about it, because it's just great, because it's about being part of the conversation, and none of us can really say we have the answers, but collectively when we talk and we just build the energy and the drive and the passion and the solutions, and we all just kind of like we all have our roles and our thoughts, and we're connecting the dots and helping people wake up. That is really great, because that's one thing that they wanted to control people with, and the very one thing that we've been able to share information and share a lot of truth. And